think I'm getting far
the gist of it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, as Tom reads that out, I'll make notes.
if you don't mind, unless somebody else wants to read it.
You read.
Good, I like reading. Makes my brain smarter. Case 2. The Tin Soldier. 11th of June, 1888. We are at 221B Baker Street. Quietly, is that how you say it? 221? 221B. Thank you. We're at I shouldn't read this! You old fool! We're at 221B Baker Street, quietly celebrating the conclusion of the munitions magnet case, which we will not mention, the spoilers.
Redacted.
When we hear a clamour in the street below, followed by the ringing of the front doorbell and then the sound of heavy footfalls on the stairs. It seems as if our moment of triumph is to be but short-lived. Come in, Lestrade. Lestrade timidly peeks in, his face betraying surprise at being recognised before he is seen. Really, Holmes, exclaims Watson. I suppose you will tell us that Lestrade rings the doorbell in a most distinctive way, and that you would recognise his footsteps anywhere. No, my dear Watson, not at all, Holmes chuckles. But since the trip from the front door to ours was made in seconds and was unaccompanied by a warning screech from Mrs. Hudson, it must be presumed she knew the caller. There is no S, there are typos in this game. Who would be in such a hurry and gain immediate entry but Inspector Lestrade with some pressing and professional matter? Besides, while at the window a few moments ago, I glimpsed the inspector's carriage turning into Baker Street. Inspector, now that you have regained your breath, how can we be of service to you? Lestrade plops down in a chair and gasps out, General Farnsworth Armstead, one of the 6 surviving Waterloo Tontine ticket holders, has been murdered.
General?
Yeah, well, Waterloo Tontine? Asked Watson. A lottery of sorts. His name was General Farnsworth. Farnsworth Armstead.
As quick as I can. It came in the hall.
And he was one of the 6 surviving ticket holders. No, not anymore. Waterloo Tontine? Asked Watson. A lottery of sorts. In 1815, the Tontine was set up to aid the veterans of the Battle of Waterloo, Wellington's victory over Napoleon. For £1, one bought a ticket in the name of some young relative. Longevity is paramount to winning. The ticket proceeds amounted to over £1 million. Bloody hell. Half of which went immediately to the veterans and their families for medical and hardship expenses. The remainder went into an account at the Bank of England, where it has been collecting interest all these years. The sole surviving ticket holder will claim that prize. A king's ransom, certainly, exclaimed Watson. Who are the surviving ticket holders? The oldest is Captain Robert Jurgens.
Is there a short?
CAPT.
CPT.
So you say 3 letters. Robert Jurgens. Juergen.
J-E-U.
Oh, Jurgens.
J-U. What's it say?
E-R-G...
J-U. It wasn't J-U.
J-U-E-R-G-E-N-S. 82.
Wow.
He's 82 years old. The oldest is Captain Robert Jurgens, 82. Then Anita and Claire Thomas. So they're twins. Anita and Claire Thomas, twins, 80 years old. William Rowland, aged 79. Peter Dudley, 77. General
Was he?
he was 77, Peter Dudley. General Armstead was the youngest at 74. You've already got his name, he was dead. Was the youngest at 74.
So he was 74.
The Times is sponsoring some big to-do involving the Tontine? The Tontine survivors on the 18th. It's currently the 11th, says Holmes.
18th is a survivor's day.
Yeah. That's right. A Waterloo anniversary banquet at the Langham Hotel. Why is the name Armstead familiar? What? Why is the name Armstead familiar?
Hotel?
Langham. Perhaps, Watson, you are thinking of the General's book, Treasures of the Conquerors, says Holmes. He was a noted art collector, I believe. There you go, he collected art. And he wrote the book, Treasures of the Conquerors. Every little thing like this can come up. It's like reading a book. Indeed he was, Mr. Holmes, says Lestrade. he was interested in valuables, which at one time belonged to famous military men. The book traced the history of various objects and how they passed from collector to collector. Quite a sensation it was, if you know what I mean. At the time of his death, he was working on a revised edition for his publisher, Moorgate and Company. So his publisher's bound to come up there. So his publisher, Moorgate and Company. It was to contain an entirely new chapter on a fabulous diamond called the Polar Star.
That was in his book.
Let's go in the revised edition. A new chapter about a fabulous diamond.
That was not already
Yeah.
in the first one. So,
The diamond thief. Yeah. Which at one point belonged to Joseph Bonaparte, Napoleon's brother.
Joey Bonaparte.
Jobo. The general had new information which traced the gem to its present owner. What do you think, Holmes? I think, Inspector, that you should tell us the circumstances of the general's death.
He fell on his own sword.
So it belonged
To Joseph Bonaparte. At 10 o'clock this morning, times, we like times because you can actually measure the distance of things and work out the time to get there. At 10 o'clock this morning, the general's valet and former Batman...
What?
That's somebody who helped somebody in the military, got their clothes ready and all the stuff like that. So the general's valet and former Batman, so was in the military and now is his valet. David Sennett,
Alfred.
so that's David and then it's S-E-N and then net, double T. David Sennett admitted a caller to the general's study. The caller was an elderly gentleman with a French accent. Boom!
Find a Frenchman.
Unknown to Sennett. So, the valet didn't know him and he had a French accent. Right. It was all very unusual.
Sennett's not French.
No, Sennett isn't. I would be very surprised if he was French. It was all very unusual in that the general never sees anyone in the morning while he's at work. There we go.
So he never lets anyone.
Yeah. But the gentleman insisted that if the general would read a letter, he would be the exception to that proven rule. And so it was. Sennett took the letter to the general, who went very pale when he read it. He told Sennett to let the man in. Sensing something amiss, Sennett dawdled in the area of the study and then for the next 15 minutes or so. So they talked for at least 15 minutes. Suddenly, he heard the distinct sound of sword play. Then he tried to enter the study, but he found the door securely locked. As he attempted to force it, he heard the crash of breaking glass. He gave it up and raced to the kitchen and out the back door to enter the study from the garden. Fucking hell.
That was a lot there.
Yeah, right. So, sword play after 15 minutes. Right?
Normally after half an hour, isn't it?
Door locked. So someone locked the door. It could have been the general or it could have been this French chap.
So somebody's locked the door.
Yeah. Then there was the breaking of glass
So
after the sword play, we presume. Although that could have been the sound of a case breaking. And then he gave up and he raced to the kitchen and out the back door to enter the study from the garden. So the garden study
the kitchen, out back door.
out the back door to enter the study from the garden. The caller had quite vanished by the time he arrived, and the general was leaning against a display case of military miniatures. Yeah, it's got to be what the smash was. The shattered top of which accounted for the broken glass.
Oh, well, that's that mystery solved.
Before Sennett could assist him, he dropped a rapier from his hand and fell over dead. The rapier, that's important. R-A-P-I-E-R. I take it, asks Holmes, that the letter that so upset the general was nowhere to be found? Correct, Mr. Holmes. Well, Inspector, we shall put our brains and our feet to the task. Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Oh, can't look at that.
Yeah.
Right then, so now we have to work out where to go. Okay, now we can always visit these people. Okay? Now bear in mind in the first case, we visited 27 locations, Holmes visited 4, and he solved the case. So you can visit the case, the first case anyway, very quickly. So, we could visit obviously we'll have a look at the paper in a second.
Yeah.
But we could visit Jasper Meeks, who's the head coroner at St Bartholomew's Hospital. He autopsies all corpses discovered in the course of the investigations. He's usually pretty good to go to. Murray, H.R. Murray, a criminologist. He analyses all items and substances discovered during the course of investigations. I don't think Murray would be a good call at the moment because there's no suspicious.
No.
He was stabbed.
Scotland Yard, the police, represented by Inspectors Lestrade and Gregson. They all have reports and elements related to the investigation. I think that's a softball.
They didn't last time.
Disraeli O'Brien, archivist at the National Archives Office, compiles old legal and criminal documents. Again, not thinking that. Somerset House, archives of the births, deaths, marriages and wills, which may be freely consulted. Edward Hall, lawyer at the Old Bailey's Tribunal, sources of information on trials and legal affairs. Nope. Porky Shinwell, owner of the Raven and Rat Tavern, sources of information for all illegal affairs and on all criminals.
We really wanted to go to him last time, but we didn't in the end. Yeah.
Fred Porlock, member of the Criminal Underground, leaves coded information on the activities of Moriarty, leader of the Criminal Underground and sworn enemy of Holmes, at the Parson and Son toy shop. Henry Ellis, journalist at the London Times, sources of information on current events, especially on foreign affairs. Quinton Hogg, journalist at the Police Gazette, source of information on criminal affairs. Mycroft Holmes, Eminence Grise, G-R-I-S-E, Grease, support, source of information on everything which concerns the government.
I don't think he's actually...
Langdale Pike, society columnist, knows all the gossip currently stirring in the good London society. Central Carriage Stables, meeting point with London cab drivers, sources of information on the movement of suspects. Lomax, librarian at the London Library, to be consulted for encyclopedic research. And Sherlock Holmes, consulting detective. If you're stuck in your investigation, Sherlock Holmes will put you back on track with some good advice, which he really did last time.
Yeah.
Well, how early in it did you have to go to him?
We tried to hold out.
Yeah.
We wanted to wait.
Yeah.
Cool.
It makes sense to go to the Mersey.
We should read the paper.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
Yes,
from
we should,
what we
you
know,
always should go to
we'd
the
always
Mersey.
go to the murder scene and find out what happened. I think in this case, of the people there, the encyclopedic knowledge of the librarian might be interesting because of this new book. But
we should see what comes up there. But obviously, as well, these people all have a lot to
well,
gain
we need
through
to
his
find
death.
those people.
So,
What was the
Happened on my birthday.
did it say
no one.
how he was? Did it say specifically he was slashed? Or
No,
stabbed? He was
it
just lying on
didn't.
the case.
It
which is
said
why
he
the
dropped dead.
Coroner is also a good idea.
Yeah. Right then. So, the best way that we found to do this is to split it up.
I can't
Okay.
read much, but I'll try and read the bottom bit.
Well, Ben, curve around the table, mate. Right. There we go. Right. So, Ben, if you take the bottom corner, Al, you take up there. Claire, you take the bottom. You take there.
You're
Al,
going to
I'll
read
take
from
up
there. You're
there.
going to read from there, and I'll just read
Yeah,
the big
this
paragraph.
bit. So you're reading this bit.
Now, everyone
Yeah.
read out loud at the same time. Oh,
No,
June
no,
again!
no. New books and new editions. Here's we go. Here's the release of the book.
Ah, so it's in the paper.
There's no slowness there. Somebody slow.
I reckon what we didn't do like this last time is we should have a section on the paper and like interesting spots that we picked out. We didn't do that last time.
Yeah, possible clues. That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Okay, yeah.
Do you want to go?
You want to do it in green?
Yeah, that's a good
Do it in
idea.
green.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
We can always spot it out then, because we can always look back on
Yeah.
our notes and be
No, it
like,
doesn't work.
green.
So
This will be the most visually entertaining part of the video. I've got someone dying who's 79, so that would put him at a similar age band to these people.
who is it that's died?
His name is George Pipette.
As in spelled like the
Yeah, it's
Pipette.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he died at 79.
Yeah, yeah.
So it might be like the Pipette family.
He died in Liverpool, so not London, but I'm just saying he's got the same age, so he could have been.
I'll write it down anyway.
Yeah, there's no harm, is there?
I'll note it down in my casebook.
Where did you start? Oh,
I start from personal,
cool.
but
No, I'll go. There's nothing up here.
no, but that's the interesting thing I found from this
Okay.
lot here.
Gentleman wants lessons in French about 4 times a week.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. Where's that? Oh,
no,
now
that's
that
interesting.
very much, because this guy had a French accent. It doesn't mean
yeah,
that he
true.
was French.
Very true.
So
Gentleman.
Wants lessons in French.
That's the one reading all of the central
And it
column.
just says apply
yeah, just,
or letter to
if we all
N.
start our own areas and then just read everything.
Yeah, cool.
Is there
I
anybody's
feel this
name
is
beginning with N?
entirely useless, but
Yeah.
we'll go
There's a
Yeah.
backside to this
It
as well.
says
Oh, wow.
apply by
Yeah.
letter to N.
But we say Q661, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
73rd Waterloo anniversary. Times please went out to dinner.
Which is what's which
Mm.
is
What they
on the
go to,
18th.
isn't it?
But there might be something in there. Hello. A Jewish governess requires situation in good family or school. Thorough French, German and Italian. Excellent references.
Who's this?
So a Jewish governess. So they like diamonds.
French play.
Boys.
Yeah, there's a French play at the Princess Theatre.
That's worth bearing in
It
mind.
might have something to do with it. It might be a link to
Yeah.
this. Like
It could
maybe
be
the person
looking
who's
for an
doing this
actor.
French play is an actor looking to do this, and it might help to counter that.
Toy exhibition.
Oh, 'cause it's
Model-
a case of
The
military miniatures.
Miniature figures.
Mm.
Edition 3.
I think that's something to. That's interesting. So the toy
14,000
exhibition
toys will be
at the Willis Room. Right, that's what. So
King
toy
King
exhibition.
Street, James.
You know what? That's a really good point actually. The military miniatures thing might be something to consider because
Toy
wasn't he a
exhibition.
collector of art as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
a collector,
The
yeah.
Willis Room.
And,
King
and
Street.
that's the case that's smashed, isn't it?
Mm.
So
It could have been someone trying
well,
to get
yeah,
something
yeah,
back.
yeah.
For all we know, something could have been stolen.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. We need to talk. Obviously,
That's
we
something,
have
yeah.
to talk to the valet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if he was with him in Waterloo, it stands to
Which one
reason
over the phone?
that he
Yeah, there's more of this.
probably didn't want him
Although,
killed.
was there anything else down here?
Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It was the French play.
Oh,
that was it.
nothing else.
Are we okay to turn over?
Yeah.
Although man with French accent, someone's come back to pick something from his dead relative.
Or is it something to do with Joe Bonaparte?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Guy speaks French. And takes something that this guy took from him.
There's a controversy up here about the Duke of Wellington's birthplace. That he's Irish.
I think it comes from Major G. Graham, the late Registrar General.
What was it? Major G. Graham. Yeah?
Yeah, the treasure was. This was given to the person who's writing in from G. Graham, Major G. Graham. The guy who's written in is C.J. Palmer, 31 NW.
C.J.
C.J.
G.
C.G. Sorry. Just end all controversy on that.
Okay. Talking about cleaning spectacles here. Interestingly, look at this. The Times may be purchased in Paris. So maybe this Frenchman read this about it in
Now
Paris
that's
and
interesting.
came over.
There's nothing. Well, because this is today's paper.
That's the other one.
Yeah.
So if he did read something in Paris and has come up, it will be in that paper.
Well, no, because this is the Times maybe purchasing it. It's just a reminder.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah,
weird on the timings that we've just come back in the house because the first case was in March.
Mm. Yeah.
So what's the date on that?
It's the Doctor Who version of
March 22nd. So
Yeah. This is June.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
unless Holmes has been like, I can't talk to you.
It's got
Or
a lot
a
of
month.
names on this page. What were those list of names?
Okay, the
There's a lot
list
of
of names are Robert Jurgens, no,
Mhm.
Anita and Claire Thomas, there's a Henry Thomas,
What the fuck is all this?
I don't know. I feel
Adverts.
it feels like adverts, but then it's like well known.
Yeah.
In order, important notice by reason of an improved of caption by.
I think it's big. It's a big advert, isn't it? It's like a PSA.
Anyone seen anything else? Has anyone read the middle as well?
William Rowland? No.
Well, it appears to continue down from there. You say.
And Peter Dudley. I thought this was quite interesting. The Anglo-Belgian
Yeah.
Telegraph,
Why,
because
what's it
Belgium
about?
is close to France,
What's
and
it-
someone
what's
could
it
mistake.
about?
I haven't read it. I
Very
just
true.
saw the title, but Belgium is very close to, not Flemish, is very close to
A lot of
French.
I wonder if anyone, is actually involved with to do with the lottery thing, as to whether any of them would actually be involved in murdering.
They're all
'Cause he's
also
the-
82, 80,
Yeah.
79,
Yeah,
77.
that's what I mean. I don't
We
think
need to-
any
I
of them.
think
I think that
there's
I think
something
this
on
lottery thing is like a moot point.
I think this art collecting thing is more to do with it.
Mm.
But I don't
Yeah,
think
maybe.
the Polar Star has anything.
No, maybe it, like Al said,
Yeah.
with the
Right,
models.
art collecting
Now,
toys.
what happens
perhaps
is
one was
each-
not a model.
each each
We've
investigation,
got something
each
rare.
time we
Yeah.
visit somebody, there's
Did
like
he
a lead
say-
investigator.
Right.
That
And we
he
usually
knew where
say
the
that
Polar Star
they-
was.
They make the final decision on who we
Okay.
go and see.
It was about his brother, wasn't it?
So you think it belonged? Maybe the Polar Star was actually in his possession in the cabinet.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But let's see. So Claire, you had to do all the writing for the first time. So do you want to be the first lead investigator?
Yeah.
Who do you want to go? And so we have the person who's about to become lead investigator do the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Ben, you'll write for Claire then. So Claire, where do you want to go?
Got back to that pen.
No, because I don't know directions.
We're going this way, yeah? Or that way?
Which other way makes sense?
Otherwise, Al.
Right, Alec, you do the
Should
writing.
we
then.
write
Yeah,
it for
Right,
me?
cool. Where are we going then, Claire? I think we should speak to the valet.
Are we going to look in the other paper?
No, that's the old one.
But it has stuff about
No,
dual
I
thieves.
don't think it's relevant.
I'll read it.
Right, you read it. Right, Claire, where are we going?
I thought.
Do you want to read it as well?
Well, no. I was saying, I think we go to the
Scene.
Yeah, the scene.
The scene.
I think he'll be
Yeah.
at the scene, won't he? So yeah, we should probably just go to the.
I bet it's
location.
at his
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
So
That's
we
the
need to
same-
find his house.
Okay.
and,
What's...
Well, his name is General who? Who got murdered?
General who?
General. Yes.
Is this good?
Armstead.
Armstead.
So F. Armstead.
Has Armstead spelled
Is it with
A?
an
Armstead.
Oh.
Farm.
With an A. Steeday. Steedad. Skidly doodad.
Scatman Armstead.
Farmstead, General Farmstead. 27 NW Northwest. 27 Northwest.
So Northwest 27. Cool, there you go, Claire.
It's there.
That's useful to know actually. Let's pop that.
Quite close
Are you ready?
to.
Yeah, yeah.
I've written down the location they've gone to.
Yeah,
So we
and the
haven't
number.
got- Yeah, 27 W.
At the Armstead home, we find that the police have cordoned off the premises, and it is only after mentioning Inspector Lestrade's name in a loud and indignant
Because we aren't actually Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
Right, okay.
that you're able to gain admittance.
That's how you get in.
My God, this is long. We pass into a
Only time Claire will
large.
say that tonight.
We pass into a large foyer, which houses some of the General's art collection.
Ooh.
On one
And it's
pedestal-
long. Again. The foyer was long. Claire said it twice tonight
So,
now.
camera, yeah.
I didn't say long. I said large.
It's long and large. It's bulbous. It's a collection.
On one pedestal
Pedestals.
Anyway.
Pedestals.
is an alabaster
Do I know you?
vase. A card states that it once belonged to Alexander the Great.
Who states?
A card.
Oh, a card.
A
I thought you said like.
card.
I thought you said like a card. As in like. This is my manservant. A
What's
card.
Alexander the Great?
A card belonging to Alexander the Great.
What?
He's an old servant.
Alabaster base. Alabaster vase.
I don't know you bastard biscuity base.
A card states that it once belonged to Alexander the Great,
Wow.
given to him in tribute by an Egyptian prince. Yeah. Prince.
Prince? Question mark.
In a glass enclosed niche
Yeah, niche.
is a jade necklace once owned
Jade
by
necklace.
Augustus Caesar's wife.
Whoa! Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
He's getting it.
Right, quicker.
Come on, scribble monkey.
Scribe, quicker, said me.
In all, there are some 15 objects in the foyer.
15.
Yeah,
It's just
none
a
of
foyer.
which appears to have been disturbed. At the study door, we are met by the General's valet.
Yes!
And former Batman.
No.
Thanks to the back game.
David Sennett. We judge him to be the General's contemporary. That is, in his 70s.
Right.
So he's in his 70s.
So there's no reason he would have made it to the back door in time then. To spot
More
this.
by his white hair and weathered face than by any deterioration of his physique.
Oh, so actually
So
he's in
it's
good
just
shape.
like-
He's in good shape.
Yeah.
I was going to say, he made quite a good way from the kitchen all the way back round and back in
No.
again.
He
He's
is,
a
in,
sprightly
He
man.
could have been good at this pace.
he is in fact slim and athletically built. One has no problem imagining that his uniform of 40 years ago still fits him perfectly.
I'm liking the sound of him outside of that.
Would you like to see my column?
Ramrod stiff, only his eyes were
Rods. It's even cut at the start of a sentence.
That's not the
Oh,
last
so it
time
says,
I've said that
Ramrod
tonight. Oh, you're ramrod stiff. I bet you fit your uniform just as well now.
Rods.
Ramrod stiff, only his eyes betray any emotion, and they are quite red as if weeping.
Oh, he clearly loved him.
He readily
It's a close
agrees
The old stroke and choke.
to conduct us on a tour of the premises. The study is a very large room, devoid of furniture save for the desk at the opposite end of the room.
Desk.
To our right, between two bookcases, is a glass enclosed display, the top of which has been shattered.
Top.
In the glass case is a diorama of some 200 military figurines. Hanging on the wall above are flags, sabres, and...
Rapiers.
What's that say?
Hussars.
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 Bellies.
They're mounted,
So it's like-
mounted troops.
Yeah, it's outfits for the
And
hussars.
other military.
So in the glass case that's been shattered are military.
It's a diorama.
But
Diorama.
cavalry stuff.
Yeah.
Hussars, sabres. It's a cavalry weapon, isn't it? Rather than a rapier, which is a gentleman's weapon.
The General called this his Waterloo Wall, explains Sennett. These are mementos of that great battle. And of course, the Tontine ticket. The ticket, a
Oh, the
large
ticket's still in there.
certificate, really, is framed and hanging at about eye level among the other paraphernalia. This is where I found the General, says Sennett. Leaning over the diorama, he must have smashed the glass with the pommel.
Pommel.
Yeah, that's the
Right,
hilt.
yeah.
The end
Ah.
of the rapier.
What does the diorama represent? It is a depiction of the last great British charge which swept the French from the field at Waterloo. The Iron Duke, as the Duke of Wellington was called, is that P or
Waving his hat
it's
to
a
signal
V.
the
Waving his hat to signal the advance. Here now, Sennett points to the figure representing Wellington, while all the other figurines are advancing towards the viewer. The figure of Wellington is turned around in the opposite direction, that is to say, facing the wall.
That could be key.
How strange, says Sennett. He is about to set it right when we caution him that nothing in the room should be touched until the police investigation is completed.
Someone turned Wellington away. Is Wellington pointing at something?
You don't want to see this.
Do you know what I mean? Did he point the figurine to indicate
Waving his
something?
hat.
Yeah.
It's like Maggie and it's like Mr. Burns and the MS.
On the wall opposite the Waterloo Wall are hung two crossed cavalry pennants.
So, like flags.
Oh, right, okay.
Above them, some 10 feet up the wall, is a single rapier.
That 10 feet. So how did this
That's really
person
high.
Jump and
reach
get
the
it.
other one?
Well, has the other one come down for the
Let's see.
Yeah.
There is a dust pattern on the wall which crosses it, indicating a missing twin.
Cool.
Now, 10 feet. That's higher than
Tall.
this ceiling,
You've
isn't
got
it?
to have
No, that
someone,
wouldn't
someone who's tall
Well,
or stood on
they're-
something.
That'd be an
Yeah.
8-foot ceiling, so yeah.
Someone's
That-
got grabbed something.
That'd be as high
Or
as-
did they get that down as part of this discussion? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then and then it turned into a weapon. And wasn't it Armstead who was Armstead? Is that his name? That's his name, isn't it?
Who's the
Armstead.
guy's died?
Yeah, Armstead. Wasn't it
yeah.
Armstead who was holding the rapier?
Or holding a rapier. We don't know which one or what's going on here.
It was the rapier that the general had, explains
Okay,
Senate.
there we go.
A
Which
chair.
really just lets us
This explains more. A chair normally placed by the desk for the use of visitors has been moved against the wall under the rapier. Faint footprints soil the fabric of the seat. Several handwritten pages, which represented the revisions of his book, Treasures of the Conquerors, are strewn on the top of the general's desk.
Oh, Lord.
This is publisher. Senate tells us that the general was working on it when the visitor arrived. These particular pages deal with the history of the gem, the Polar Star. It traces its ownership from Napoleon's brother up to a Russian Count
Fucking Russians.
Rostov, who acquired it in the year 1872, and from whom it was stolen in 1887. Did you want to write that name down?
Yes.
Count Rostov,
Rostov.
as in
Should we write the names in green or something? So they stand out even in the notes?
If you want.
Could do.
Yeah.
Pages of book thrown on the floor.
So that when we're trying to look back for a name, we'll see it more easily.
So,
There's a lot of diamond thefts and things.
If the
Documenting
Polar Star
Polar
is important.
Star.
Do you know what I
they're
mean?
on his desk.
The Polar Star wasn't the diamond that was involved
Sorry.
in the previous one.
No, there were no diamonds involved.
There were no
No.
diamonds. Just
That was just a big. How to do?
Red
What's the guy's name?
Count.
And what did he do? What's he doing here? Sorry, Count.
Count Rostov was the
Ross
original
too.
owner
Oh, was
of the Polar Star.
Yeah.
Well, the second owner of the
Yeah,
Polar
the
Star.
one who took it from Joseph.
And it was
From Joseph
stolen
Bonaparte.
from him.
So it was stolen from the Russian.
ROSTOO Ross 2.
Might be interested in anything about Russians in here, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't see
And
any
he- yeah, he
information
was
Russians in the
Russian.
parts I read.
No, I didn't either.
Might be Rostov.
So Count Rostov.
Oh, it
Rostov
could
or
be.
Rostov.
Oh, it could be a V.
So Count
No.
Rostov
Yes,
had
okay.
had Polar Star stolen from him.
By someone.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
he acquired it in 1872 and from whom it was stolen in 1887.
Right, so he had it for 5 years.
Yeah. Next to the manuscript is a letter from Pierre Matin. It simply states that he is prepared to divulge the name of the present owner of the gem for the agreed upon fee.
Pierre Matin.
Yeah.
M-A-T-I-N.
Yeah.
Martin.
Matin. Pierre
And
Matin.
he'll tell
He's going to
tell Armstead
for some money.
where the gem. Right.
Information and money are to be traded at the Bridge House Hotel at 10 a.m. on the 12th.
Well, there's important.
That's
from
tomorrow.
him.
Yeah, so he's
Yeah.
never got
He
there.
doesn't get to go there.
So
Just like
somebody
that.
else maybe would be
The
doing that meeting.
Bridgeton Hotel.
I
Bridge
suppose
House
that pops up in any of
Hotel.
the...
Bridge House Hotel.
at 10 a.m. on the 12th.
Because there might have been something else going on at the hotel. So that maybe we won't.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're supposed to meet him at 10 a.m. on the 12th. Also of interest is a notation in the General's appointment book for the day of the murder. 1 p.m. French Embassy.
Well,
Does it say what time he died? What time did he die? Had he,
well, 10 o'clock was when the dude turned up.
in the morning?
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
Has anyone brought this one up? Telegram from Paris not understood. Only restoration of book required. Sycamore, and it's a personal correspondence.
No.
There's,
Wow.
it's in the personal and C section of the newspaper.
Telegram from Paris, not understood.
Yeah. Telegram from it's a response. Telegram from Paris not understood. Only restoration of book required, and it's from someone called Sycamore.
Wow. Well, that could be
Ooh.
important.
That needs
not
to
the
go.
time to bring
Put
that
that-
up.
that's
put
very-
Put
that's
that
a good-
back with paper
Yeah.
clues then.
So Sycamore, and then the clue.
Have we had the name Harold's come up either?
No.
Okay.
But something to bear in mind.
So also
I
of
think my
interest
notepad
is
is
a
in
notation in the General's appointment book up for the day of the murder, 1 p.m. French Embassy. General was to meet with an old friend, Jean-Paul Gerard.
Jean-Paul.
Jean-Paul?
Yeah,
Jean-Paul Gerard.
Say Senate. Monsieur Gerard.
Crystal Gerard.
Gerard.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Jean-Paul Gerard. Say Senate. Monsieur Gerard was an instructor at the École Militaire when the General was sent to France in 48. So he was a
Okay.
general in the military.
There were.
A general in the French
Probably
military,
the French military academy.
Yeah.
which is the opposite side.
Were you with the general in France? Oh, yes. I've been with the general almost 45 years.
Jeez.
Finally, there is a small framed photograph of a stern-looking woman.
Was it being a drive?
That's the late Mrs. Armstead, says Senate. We detect a note of hostility in Senate's tone and inquire about it. Well, sir, you might say that Mrs. Armstead and I never quite got on. You might say that Mrs. Armstead did not get on with anyone, including the General. Theirs was not a love match. No, sir. Lord Fitch was in danger of having a spinster daughter on his hands, and the General... well, what? No,
Well, the
sir.
general, well, sir, he saw it as a way. He saw it as a way of social and career advancement. It was an arrangement.
Ah, so
Right.
it's an arranged.
So General,
Marriage.
someone Fitch, was that, sorry?
Lord Fitch.
Lord Fitch.
So he was in danger of having a spinster daughter, so
He
they
married her off.
married her
Yeah,
off,
yeah.
to the
So
General.
Lord Malcolm Fitch. That's his full name. Lord Malcolm Fitch.
Cool.
But
Okay.
surely something between them
He
must
might
have
actually
developed.
be dead, but
Yeah.
Why else would the General keep her picture on his desk? Actually, it was placed there to tweak
To tweak.
Mrs. Armstead's brother, the present Lord Fitch. You see,
Ah.
a good deal of Mrs. Armstead's wealth, and so the General's was in stock in various companies. Oh, so his money's all in companies
Right.
and stock, but
Okay.
she got money too.
right.
Her brother also holds stock in those companies.
That's probably Lord Malcolm then.
Yeah.
Whether they liked it or not, and believe me, they did not, Lord Fitch and the General were in business together. Lord Fitch was to see the General this morning, but he never arrived. Normally, the picture resides in the lower left-hand drawer. Going back to this morning, would you describe the caller for us? He was short,
This is key. Short.
old man,
Caps this man. Short. Young, you say?
Old man.
Old.
he
You're
wore
old,
a
man.
black cape
That's very distinctive, even at
and
this
carried a carpet bag.
There's something about
There is
carpets.
something about carpets.
It's in this one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he walked with a cane.
Persian carpets.
And he's got a cane.
point. Now, he could have had, that could have been a sword cane. Sherlock Holmes had a sword cane.
Yeah.
Persian
He was a
carpets, anyone
short-
else that will catch me? 20 railway station in there?
He was a short old man. He wore a black cape and carried a carpet bag.
What's a carpet?
A carpet bag is actually like
It's
It's,
like, it's like
it's
the
something that-
medical bags,
yeah,
isn't it?
it's not dissimilar to
Oh,
like
they're
a
like
doctor.
big holes.
It's what
Yeah.
snake oil salesmen would have
Yeah,
carried.
yeah.
So-
Right, so here there was something considerable size
Because
in that.
carpet baggers were like liars and
Yeah.
thieves that would.
Oh, and he walked with a cane. He didn't give a name. No, he simply asked to see the General and presented a letter which he intimated that the General would want to see. You didn't see the contents of the letter? No, but the envelope was yellowed with age, and it was addressed to a very graceful,
Old
in
letter.
a very graceful hand to Captain Armstead, 12th. What's that say? 12th Hussars. So that is
Hussars.
rank.
Regiment.
Right, that could be important.
The General's old regiment. When he read it, he went very pale. Old love interest.
I don't know.
Well, graceful handwriting does suggest a female writer.
That's
I did.
true.
I did think maybe he dated one of the twins.
Huh.
Then
Ooh,
I don't know.
interesting,
It just came
interesting.
into my head when.
but it's weird that he would marry for position. That's the case.
Then, in a subdued voice, he asked me to admit the gentleman. When you finally got into the room through these garden doors, the study door was still locked. Correct? Yes, that's right. The garden is surrounded by an 8-foot wall, and the only way in or out of the garden is through the house. Correct? Yes. Either through the kitchen
8-foot
door
wall.
or through these doors. We thank him and leave.
Bloody hell, this
Right,
guy is
now,
sprightly.
now, sprightly,
Doesn't mean
Right.
there was no hidden passages or anything.
sprightly, he was old and he walks with a cane, and yet he was able to outpace this 70-year-old chap who's fit as a fiddle. That cane is a sword cane, man. That is a concealed
We need to
weapon.
go and visit
and he's
the-
got this carpet bag. This massive
So
bag.
does he not have a
He's got a
carpet? He has a
rope in
carpet
that
bag.
bag. He's got a rope
He has
ladder
a
in
carpet
that
bag
bag.
on the side.
Could be.
Carpet bags.
Could
Pair of spring shoes.
But I mean, not only, but the thing is, not only, like, even if you have a rope ladder, to get out of there and over an 8-foot wall before a guy can get round.
We need to go and visit the coroner then.
I was going to say,
Find out
I
how
think
he died.
really we need to
Yeah.
know what killed him.
Yeah.
He could have had a heart attack if he was old and fallen on the case.
Yeah.
And maybe, and he's like, "Ugh," last time, but he turns the figure.
doesn't
to point to
sound-
something.
The thing is, swordplay took place.
True.
That's a fucking sword. It's a sword. It's got to be a sword cane, man.
And as it said, there was only one sword missing from the wall, and this guy didn't have
Yeah.
anything.
Mm.
No
Yeah, and it was the
strong-
rapier in his hand.
Yeah.
So, like, and then he didn't have a sword in the carpet bag. It was in the cane.
Mm.
I swear, Sherlock Holmes
But
had a sword cane.
The figure was facing the wall where the rapier should have gone. Was that correct?
No, I thought that
Facing the
all
wall.
the miniatures are facing outwards, except Wellington, who is facing towards them.
No.
Okay.
All the soldiers are in the right direction. Wellington has turned
Turned
around, so
round.
he's not waving his troops on. He's looking back across the battlefield the wrong way towards the wall. It says
The back wall, though.
the back wall, which is where all the weapons and stuff are
Yeah.
hanging.
I'm not sure about that.
I think
Which
it's
one again?
very important we find out what killed him.
Yeah.
I think.
That's true.
Because-
I mean, it
because if
does
it's
sound like he
anything
got
other than a
stabbed.
sword.
That's true.
Because the coroner might say, well,
It wasn't a gun.
Was
'cause
there
there was
blood
no.
spilled? Is there,
Yeah, he
is
said
there
he
blood?
collapsed with blood coming out of him, didn't he?
Yeah.
But he fell into a glass case. So
That's true. Let's see.
cut himself on the back.
Before Senate could assist him, he dropped a rapier from his hand and fell over dead. No, you're right. There's no
Okay,
mention of
I'm
blood.
tempted to say go straight to the French embassy.
And talk to them.
Yeah, the French embassy does seem like a good shout.
yeah, especially with the letter. I knew sort of about that telegram.
Then again, the brother of this
The star.
dead woman, he didn't come this morning. Why didn't he come this morning?
Because the news wouldn't have reached him that quickly.
Exactly, he was due to
What was
come
the
this
name of the
morning.
guy? Lord Malcolm Fitch.
Fitch,
We
yeah.
found his house.
What time did the murder take place as well? Was
10
that the
o'clock
evening?
in the morning.
10 o'clock.
10 in the morning.
And not that much time between 10 and 11. What if he showed a bird?
Listen, that's something.
10 o'clock this morning, admitted the caller. 15 minutes later, swordplay, and then
Dead soon
death.
after. Finch, or whatever his name is in there. Malcolm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he'd definitely be in there.
Who you looking for?
We can also go to
Willis.
businesses as well. So,
Willis
like
is
last, like
One.
I won't say it.
Because that's what the Twilight version is.
Yeah, I feel like this knowledge would be so useful.
No, it wouldn't.
Just for the
That's what the Twilight version is. In Willis's room, trying to save it.
the Willis, yeah, the Willis rooms were the Twilight
It could be a
rooms.
toy
Yeah,
collector.
yeah.
Yeah, this is the big one.
Now, what would have been in a letter that would have been that important to him?
News of somebody else's death, maybe.
Or that he's got,
There's got to
It's
be
like
a
a
black.
ghost from his past.
There's
It's
got to
something that
exactly. There's
shocked
got to
him
be a
from his
blackmail
past.
element to it.
that he has a son or daughter.
Maybe this was his son or daughter, but then I mean,
This man was elderly. though.
no, he
Can
looked.
we trust
Thing
that
is,
this
though,
man
he
was?
looked-
he
all
looked
of this.
old. It doesn't mean he was.
No, yeah,
like,
you-
he could have been wearing disguise.
If he's
Yeah.
got a cape, he's probably covered.
The
in
makeup
much
was
of
Ah,
his
yeah,
own-
good
his own
point.
appearance.
And a cape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a cape is a
Very
very
European, isn't it?
distinctive thing to wear.
Like
Now,
Jack
you
the
can pretend to be
One of
old,
these, Jack the
but
Ripper.
you can't pretend to be short.
Mm.
You're short or you aren't short.
Yes.
Now, if you're short, right, then even on a chair, reaching 10 feet is difficult, isn't it?
No,
And
I
you
think
wouldn't-
it's, I think it's established that Armstead reached up for the sword.
Why is that established?
Because he had it in his hand when he was fighting.
Ah, that doesn't mean that he reached and took it down.
No. They could have
As in-
stabbed him and then put it in his hand.
Oh
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
why would
Very
Why would
difficult
he
to
have
put
dirty
something
shoes?
in someone's hand?
Why would he have dirty
well,
shoes?
And the footprints were on the guest chair.
Yeah.
So why would he? Oh,
Yeah, so why did the guest... I mean, in what context did this guest stand on a chair
And
and,
grab
take
a
down the sword?
sword?
Why stand on a chair and take down the sword? Now that
To
can't...
look at it. He was
This
either
is said.
selling
Oh
it
yes.
or-
Would you like to see my?
What was the information about the pommel?
What? So he was like, hey, do you want to see my
Something about
sword?
the pommel
Stand
of the
on the
sword,
chair
isn't it?
and pull down the sword.
There
It
is
seems
jewel,
odd that he would have had
sort of
that.
thing that could be in that,
And then he
the
ended
hilt of the sword.
Maybe he always had the polar star,
Maybe.
and that letter was to reveal that we know you
I
have
don't
it.
know. That seems a bit weird.
Yeah.
Why would he get a letter from someone saying, hey, I'll pay to tell you who has the polar star?
Maybe it's an ambush.
Uh,
I know, like a blackmailing thing. Get him to come there and then. Job
that
him.
wasn't the letter that he received, was it? That letter that he received is gone.
Yeah, the letter that he received was beforehand, I think. Because it was sent from the Frenchman, or someone from the embassy, wasn't it?
I think Claire's right. I think the embassy is the place to go.
Well, I'd say it's either the embassy or the coroner.
I think the embassy. I do agree, though, that we need to know how he died. That is very important. But I think speaking to the embassy first, I don't know. Maybe the embassy.
Well, Jean-Paul Gerard is not in.
Who's Jean-Paul Gerard?
The guy who's.
He'll be at the embassy.
Is the guy whose meeting he has.
Yeah, we should definitely go to the
I was
embassy.
just wondering if he had another address.
No, I had to look for him earlier.
Oh, okay, cool. And then Lord Malcolm Fitch is in here as well.
Yeah,
isn't
he is. Yeah.
It's up to you, man, but I think the embassy. Claire's right.
Yeah, I think we're to the embassy.
Yeah.
So French embassy is.
French embassy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
SW59.
SW.
It's really hard not to look at some of the artwork in the book.
What does that like give away further?
Well, no, there's
It's
some
like in the
artwork.
Choose Your Own Adventure book.
There's artwork in there that is to fit with certain scenes,
Because
so
some
you get
places it's
a better
like-
idea of people.
Well, that's places you go there and it's like you reach the place and there are no clues.
Yeah.
No, right.
Yeah, and you wasted a location.
And is it like a page to a clue or something?
No.
Or-
No.
I mean, like you could
A
see it.
paragraph
Sort of
or
you're
a
in
No,
it.
no, there's no.
And the editions
So no.
of
You're
Sherlock Holmes that I read.
No.
The French embassy is SW59 and there is no SW59.
Correct.
Oh.
What?
Just don't. Oh, the embassy's on here at all?
No, they're in the back of the book. Embassies.
Yeah.
Yeah, SW59, SW. There's no SW. There's N.
There's no SWs at all.
No.
There's
It's
NW,
all-
WC, and EC.
It's all
and-
this top end.
That's really
With
weird.
SW59 to it there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why
So
next
it's
to
It's
the
not-
house?
not in
I'm
this
not saying you're
book.
wrong,
So
but
it's-
can I do you want to just have a look? Thanks.
What was it saying in
Where you gonna- where you thinking
Or was it
now?
not saying in there? Sorry.
It's not in the book. It's not in that book. So.
The column?
There's-
But it's in
there's-
other books.
SW59.
Oh, it's not
What?
in for
In
this
our
case. You
case,
mean
yeah.
right?
It is there.
Oh.
Right.
Oh. Was it double? Was the page stuck together?
It must have been because we. Cause
I
we
just
both,
looked and I was like, I can't see
Yeah,
that.
we both looked.
There it is.
Yeah.
Right.
So we both looked. So.
Oh, but it's quite long.
That's-
Hey.
SW59.
That's okay, I'll go and pop some popcorn.
Yeah, I'll go away.
Poop some poop.
I presume people want some
Yeah.
popcorn.
Oh,
Sweet and salty.
Just
She passed me
to,
the box. I tell you what, when I was doing the board game club, right,
do you want-
the kids went to this box because the popcorn was right in that box, and they you know, because they all go to the box to get the games out, and this last game, and we were on pretty good terms with the guy.
Yeah. We should fluff that. Oh, hello, sir. We talked with you. Oh, yeah, because we helped him, didn't we? Because he was the guy who didn't have the affair. Well, no, he wasn't having an affair. He was going out with the girl who. He was going out with the girl who his father would
Oh, was that an Elsa?
disagreed with.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Trying to move it.
Sorry.
Ah, fascinating.
Still want to know what this pterodactyl's doing on this picture. Pterodactyl there.
There is a pterodactyl there. Sherlock Holmes and the dinosaurs.
I bet this comes up at some point. The coat of arms. Yeah. They like wipe it on the back.
That's a really weird coat of arms.
Yeah.
And he looks so sinister there, doesn't he?
He doesn't look like Sherlock Holmes there.
What does it look like, Sherlock?
That guy
Oh,
there.
that, yeah.
You don't
I am Sherlock. What are you talking about?
Sherlock.
Sherlock.
Sherlock hers.
Yes, that is me.
Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock.
There was a. What was the BBC show that had a girl Sherlock in it?
That rings
Casey Holmes? Casey?
Yes,
The cases of Casey Holmes? And she's like the descendant of Sherlock Holmes. And at the beginning it was like, hello, welcome to my diary, Casey. We're going, here's that. And then there will be a mystery that was similar to the one that he'd done in the past.
Yeah, very good.
He's a damn good detective. He knew he could detect the name of his distant ancestor.
My great granddaughter will be called Casey.
I know, Bruce is at Copthorne tonight.
How do you think it's going?
This is audience participation time. How long do you think this video will be before we actually get it?
Another.
Right,
40
vote
minutes.
in the comments where you would like us to go next.
Was there a sort of murder or anything in the last one, or was it sort of different setup?
It's a murder.
It was a murder.
It's
Last one was a
yeah,
murder,
it's a
right.
murder. It's a murder.
What sort of information did you learn from going to the coroner? Was it very useful, or was it
Yes,
sort of
it
stuff
was.
you felt like you would already know?
No, there was some.
There's some useful
There's some
things.
useful stuff,
And then there
but
was other things that just sort of
Yeah.
said
what I
what you already knew.
It made us like, yes, we're like definitely
yes,
sure
yeah,
on that.
but I don't think did Sherlock go there?
No.
No.
No, I don't think Sherlock went there. So the
Well,
although the information
bastard.
there is useful,
Yeah.
it's not like you know. Well, evidently it can be solved without it going there.
What was the murder like?
It's not a shooting. I'm pretty sure I can say that.
If you know it's a shoot, you know that. I'm just thinking. The fundamental things you want to know when you're solving a murder is exactly how the victim died, and I don't think that's that clear in this one. If there was shooting in the last one, you think that's a bit of a given.
Yeah.
But you know, you can learn things like, was there a struggle? What type of struggle? Did he have any other marks or anything on him?
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know,
very
just-
true.
There's
I
a
feel
fair
like
few
there's not
pictures of
much-
Watson kissing Sherlock in here. I'm
Watson's
looking at young
doing the
girl
kissing, you know.
Sherlock Holmes, and that comes up.
Sorry.
Photoshop.
I'm very glad you
Female Sherlock.
put-
You need to put female Sherlock.
I'm very glad you put Sherlock at the end of that. Otherwise, you're just
Sorry, I
searching
should
for
have
young
moved it
girl.
Young girl, yeah.
Young girl.
Young girl Holmes.
Oh my god. That's nice.
Right, we good?
Salty and sweet.
Yeah.
Are we good?
It's really nice. Thanks, Tom.
Mm-hmm. There's 2 more bags where that came from.
Oh.
And it's high in fibre.
A sprightly, silver-haired gentleman meets us in the embassy waiting room and introduces himself as Jean-Paul Gerard. He leads us to a small office where we can have our conversation in privacy. Or privacy, if you will. Monsieur, we begin. You know General Armstead from his tour of duty at the École Militaire, do you not? Yes.
We.
Yes. The General, he was but a captain at the time, was one of a group of English officers sent to our war college. We, in turn, sent a number of French officers to your war college at Sandhurst. I was assigned to be the General's guide, as it were, during his stay. We were quartered together and were constantly in each other's company for an entire year. I want to say pants there.
Which in French is company.
Company pants. Oui.
In such a situation, people emerge as either the worst of enemies or the best of friends. Happily, the latter was true in our case. Would you describe the general as he was that
That's handsome.
as he was at that time?
That's something you did before right now.
The general, he was quite a dashing fellow. I would say that when on duty, there was no more dedicated officer in the English army. His knowledge of military history was outstanding, but off duty, well, that was another matter entirely. He breaks into a broad grin. I like breaking my fourth wall. It's fun. I'm afraid the general was quite a devotee of wine, woman, and song. Although not
Twins.
by any means
The
in that,
twins.
although not by any means in that order. I was quite amazed at, shall we say, his stamina.
Oh my god.
I, a Frenchman, could not keep up with him.
Everyone loves this guy.
Is that
Yeah, I, a Frenchman, could not keep up with him.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, that's the other French.
When I complained that he was putting me
That
and my
ramrod
countrymen to
straightness.
shame in matters of love, he laughed and said that it was because we did not have a horse face to spur us on. He says he did not have a horse face to spur him on.
There we go.
So whether that means his wife.
Maybe.
We've been very early to get married, but I suppose.
Yeah, but remember, he married a
Oh.
woman who was becoming a spinster. He obviously couldn't,
Yeah.
You see, just before the general left England, he had become engaged to a Mary Fitch, later Mrs. Armstead. On her, he had conferred the unfortunate sobriquet Horseface. It was a marriage of convenience only. It would provide the general with social position and a significant increase in wealth. He looked at his stay in France as a last fling before the marriage knot was tied around his neck,
Like a noose.
as the way
His anus.
he phrased it. So there was no particular woman in the general's life at the time. Curiously, there was someone, although I never learned her name. My little flower, he called her.
Ah.
It's one of the twins.
My little flower.
Do any of the,
How
peop- do
come
any
I'm-
of the people have names that sound a little bit like flower?
What were the twins' name?
Flower and
Oh.
flowers.
Flower and
Claire
power.
and something. Anita, wasn't it?
Claire was clearly not a flower.
Anita and Claire Thomas.
No, but Claire means one who's bright and outstanding beauty.
They would only have been 6 years older than him.
No. That's a shame, isn't it, Linton? Yes. My little flower, he called it. I remember one morning, actually it was the middle of the night, near the end of his tour of duty, when the general awakened me. It was obvious that he had not been to bed and was slightly inebriated.
Banging
No,
women left, right, and
this
centre?
is really
Ben,
good.
this is when he was at military college.
Oh,
and
right.
he was captain.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ,
He wa-
Sherlock.
I thought he was like a silver fox.
He was.
He wanted me to rise and sortie with him out of the country.
And what with him?
Rise and salty with him.
Rise and sortie.
It's a salty
Uh,
jam.
I told him to get some sleep. Morning call was only an hour or so away.
Ride into the country.
To rise and sortie with him into the country. So
It means ride out.
yes, so
Yeah.
get up and go for it.
Yeah.
We leave at daybreak.
I
Why is it
told,
always daybreak?
I told him to get some sleep. Morning call was only an hour away, or hour or so away. With my rebuff, he settled down on his bed and rambled on somewhat cryptically about promises that must be kept and promises that couldn't be. Finally, he slumped back onto the bed and sighed.
Promises that must be kept.
I bet that's
Promises
the
that
letter.
must be kept
Contents,
and promises
yeah.
that couldn't be.
Yeah. His past came back to haunt him.
If he's couldn't be kept, perhaps he's
Yeah.
betrothed to engage
Yeah.
to this woman.
Yeah.
Finally, he slumped back on the bed and sighed. My little flower, I shall never forget the depth of that sigh. My little flower. I shall never forget the depth of that sigh.
Wow.
Ma florette, he said.
What does that mean?
Wow.
My florette.
My flower.
My flower, my little flower. My florette.
Wow.
Oh, right.
So,
My
let's have
flower.
a look for my flower.
He was very literal.
Yeah.
Have you seen the general of 10 over the years?
The General of 10.
Have you seen him over the last 10 years?
Have you seen
Yeah.
the general of 10 over the years?
Have you seen him in the
So-
past 10 years?
The general of 10 over the years, isn't it?
Okay. Over the last 10 years, I guess.
Yeah,
that
it's
is.
weird, yeah. No, not at all. In fact, no, not at all, in fact. Our relationship has been entirely maintained by correspondence. Last week, when I arrived in London, we had supper at Rules, and then when... I assume that's
Hang on,
went.
whoa. Where did they have supper?
Rules,
Spell it.
R-U-L-E.
Was that not the
S.
place where there was a scuffle?
R-U-L-E''S.
Was that the place where there was a scuffle in the last case?
It does ring a bell.
Yeah.
Would you go to a restaurant in the
Spoke
last
by
one?
letters
Yeah.
for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. you
When
can
I
go.
arrived in London, we had last week. When I arrived in London, we had supper at Rules, and then when that's meant to be when to see the French actor Philippe Arnaud perform.
That's the actor looking for less. That's the actor for the play then.
Ah.
Philippe Arnaud being A-R-N-E-A-E.
Mm.
Do you want me to write that down? I mean,
You never know.
okay.
Yeah.
I'd
We went to
love-
see him. The actor Philip Anu performed.
A little bit of an Easter egg there.
The general commented that my presence next to him while French was being spoken from the stage reminded him of the old days. It was in fact the first time in almost 40 years that we had actually been in each other's presence. Your visit went well? Oh, exceedingly. The general was in most excellent spirits. Was there anything in particular on his mind? Did he seem worried? No, not at all. He joked at length about the upcoming Tontine celebration at the Langham. Alas, he even predicted that he would certainly outlast the other ticket holders and win. He was also very enthusiastic about the new information concerning the Polar Star. He was to meet someone this week, a countryman of mine, if I'm not mistaken, who was to give him that information. If anything, he was looking forward to that meeting. What business did his appointment with you this afternoon involve? The business of two old friends simply getting together to dine and chat. It's hard for me to believe that my girlfriend has gone. And there's a little picture. I know it doesn't. It's not necessarily connected to what I've just read. Well, it might be, but that is the picture.
My little flower.
Oh.
But there's a picture. There's a definite break for the picture between that and the next section.
Hmm.
So it might be nothing, but I think it's just nice to look at, isn't it? It's very pretty.
Might be her,
Yeah. Very pretty.
Okay, cool.
When
Is
he
that the end of
said
it?
my fellow,
Right.
said something about my
Yeah,
fellow
yeah. So he was meant. So
So
the
he
general
told-
was going to meet
yeah.
another Frenchman
Yeah.
who had information about the
That's
Polar
what I was
Star,
going to ask, yeah. So it was someone that
Or
used French to
information.
have.
if you would. I put it in French accent.
Okay. So,
I could have gone more French.
so,
That was Welsh.
I know, but I was trying to.
so my little
Put a bit
flower.
more French there.
Now,
Don't know about that. That's some.
I'm somewhat hesitant to suggest it was the twins because I don't think he'd be that cavalier in his attitude towards them when he said, "I'll outlast them all."
Where?
And
Yeah.
he met this woman when he was in France, and I don't see why those twins would have been in France
No.
40 years ago. They were Waterloo survivors.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this man wasn't a man at all, and it was a woman,
Mm.
and she'd come to see him.
A cape would conceal feminine
Breasts.
shape.
And that's why maybe she was small.
Yeah.
Maybe, but the problem is now
But they got, but
we don't have a clear lead.
But the thing is,
The foreigner.
No, but
But
that's
no-
not a clear lead.
Yeah.
No, but that's something to set up what we
Yeah,
should
but-
look at.
If we were Sherlock, forget what would Jesus do. What would Sherlock do?
I also
Think about the last one, how he made the connection.
Exactly, yeah.
I would also read off the. It could have been a woman idea because Sennett did say that he spoke to the person who came in with the letter, didn't
Yeah.
he? And said like,
Right.
Yeah, that would have been hard to like.
yeah, this guy's a woman.
Wait, she does it in Blackadder.
Oh. No,
Maybe we go and see Finch,
I think the brother,
Malcolm Finch.
because
Yeah,
if Armstead had a bastard
So we can
somewhere,
hear just his voice now.
then Finch would have been very displeased because
Yeah.
technically then Armstead's business would have passed to that bastard's son.
Yeah.
True. Or might he have not wanted to use that information against him? Say, call the,
I don't know.
Call the wedding
So
off.
that he, well, no, not call the word. No, that
Oh,
wouldn't,
that's
that
right.
wouldn't be an issue from 40 years ago.
But
if he found out now, then
well,
he could have forced him out of the company. Couldn't
Yeah.
true.
he? You know what I mean? Maybe there was a clause in the wedding about
Not humping away.
fidelity, because it sounds as though he was loyal, because he was all into his women, and then he came back.
Like
he got
I know
married,
about your flower.
Right.
Yeah.
He got married, and there's been no mention in his character of being a womanizer now. And it suggested that in his time at the military academy, he was very, dutiful when he was on the job. And marrying this woman would have been a job.
Yeah.
So he would have been able to maintain that while he was back.
Who else would have known about that lady?
That lady. Well,
I
no
know.
one that we know.
Even his closest friend, this general, didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
who she was.
But-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Would you have spoken to
Well,
anybody years ago
my-
about
yeah,
it?
my-
That's
my
what I was
next-
thinking.
my
But who
my
do we know? Who do we know who did it years ago?
next place I've called, I would say, is The brother.
I think the brother.
It's the
Malcolm
brother-in-law, yeah, because
Yeah.
he was meant to
And they
up on
hate
the
each
day.
other.
Yeah, he was meant to turn up on the day. He
Yeah.
didn't.
In my mind, he's the prime suspect.
So we've learned new things about the
Yeah.
personality of our
So, what's the address of this chap? I think that's the most important and ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah, no, just because
This is nice, isn't it?
Lord Malcolm Finch is at 39 SW.
Right, so put down number 3, Al.
on new page.
Well, how do you want? And then 3, and then put down. Say again, Ben.
39 SW.
39 SW, that's all.
There's no SWs in here. No, wait, they're all in.
Okay, just stuck together.
You were just in areas.
Cool.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, I like it.
It's too dry.
Oh.
Oh.
I admit to having a strong dislike for Armstead, says Lord Fitch. He was a cad and a bounder who made my sister's life miserable. I argued at length with my father against the marriage, but to no avail. Unfortunately, Mary was not the attractive sort who had suitors by the score. Far from it. She was in real danger, as my father put it, of advancing rapidly into spinsterhood, unless he did something about it. And so their engagement was arranged just before Armstead was sent on a military mission to France. During that year, I continued to argue against the marriage. I had made several friends on my tour of the continent, and I asked them to forward any information they may have on Armstead's unsavoury activities. They regularly sent back word of his riotous living, his drinking, and womanizing, and such. Finally, there was some scandal or mile, I don't know what that means, Millet, involving a young French girl of good family. But even with this documentation, my father would not dissolve the betrothal. I even went so far as to give the story to the newspapers.
He would not
the newspapers?
dissolve that betrothal.
Yeah. Hoping to create an untenable situation for everyone involved. But my father got wind of it and used his influence to stop the publication. You must understand, I considered that whatever hurt I was doing my sister in the publishing of such a scandal was the lesser of evils in the long run. At the time, I was sure the marriage was a mistake, and so it proved to be. May we ask why you didn't keep your appointment with the General this morning? My wife took suddenly ill. I summoned Dr. Anstree and waited.
Say it, don't spray it, sir.
I waited his arrival at around 10 o'clock. Thank you, Lord Fitch, for your time.
So his wife became ill, and that's why he didn't go, essentially.
Yeah, which I think is probably true.
Yeah.
A bit of a dim lie, isn't it?
Yeah. My wife was ill.
Brill. She's brilliant. So, French girl of good family. He tried to give it to the newspapers, but father got wind of it and stopped it.
Thanks.
So what
Did you learn?
Also,
Well, she was a French girl of good family. So it wasn't just some little bit of strumpet, some tavern
Do
wench.
we have any other French names that we can
you are.
from earlier
Well,
that may link to like her family?
well, it's not the twins, is it?
No.
No, it's not. God damn it.
Who were the other people that were involved with the
You mean with the tickets?
tickets?
Well, they're all going to be English, aren't they?
Well,
I don't think it's anymore.
So far, we've been to the place where we've been to the crime scene, and
Spoke to the butler.
spoke to the butler.
Who gave us a full rundown of exactly what he saw?
Spoke to the
Now,
French
you got to
embassy.
think, if he was there 40 years ago, and he's 74 now, he was 34 when he went on this military mission. Possibly.
What was the year
I mean, let's say
that
30.
he went to?
So if he had a son then, which I think, or a daughter, which I think we're saying he did,
That's what we are.
then they're now 40. Not, by any definition, old.
No.
But quite sprightly enough to leap a wall.
No, what I'm saying is,
fight a man.
exactly, so it would have to have been a disguise, this old thing.
So maybe he
If-
gave
if
him
it was the
proof
son.
of his
Existence.
existence, and that shocked him to the core. And
But then what about the sword play? Interesting, that.
maybe he said, "I don't want you to be my son." Or
No, he would never admitted it. He would never have admitted him, would he?
something, I suppose. What if he didn't know who he was?
I mean, you wouldn't have let him in.
Do you want to follow up on this sycamore thing?
The only reason I think he would have let him in is if the letter said something like from your flower.
Yeah, that would have been it. Definitely.
Oh, what's the
Yeah, it would have been about that.
Well, can we visit?
Restoration
Can you
of
visit the newspaper? Is that one of the?
I know, and we can, because there's definitely some...
There's archives.
There's a journalist,
Yeah.
right? But, I mean...
It's just whether or not this
That's
telegram
the only
actually...
way
That
we
was
could get the
40
name.
years ago, though.
No, I'm talking about this new...
There's that
What? Message?
I think that reeks of red herring. Because
Oh, no.
Telegram
That's
from
your
Paris
message,
not understood. Only restoration of book required is the telegram. Then, yeah.
restoration of book. What would that mean? That they're restoring a damaged book,
I don't know,
or
what book was he writing?
stopping the
The
new
Conqueror-
published
Treasures
version,
of the
the
Conquerors.
updated edition of the book being
Yeah.
published. You were.
Well, it's your call now, Al.
Oh God.
Ben, you're scribing. So, what are we thinking? Oh, by the way, there's bonus questions at the end.
Bonus questions.
Like, not only just like who did it and why did they do it, but like loads of little extra things.
Okay.
Boozy Sherlock.
Well, what do we know? We know he's.
We know he. You know what? We don't know how he died. We really should go and speak to the coroner. We really should.
Good idea.
I think where we're
Because
on.
how he was killed is very important.
I think we've got a bit of a trail going there.
Yeah.
Because
I don't
we're
think
all
we learned
thinking about the
anything new
sword
from that
fight.
last.
How
And then,
relevant
and then
is
if he
that?
says, "Oh, you died of a heart attack," well, it's like,
Yeah. Well, it's Jasper Meeks if we're going to go there, and it's 38 EC. I mean, you want to go? You want to go there? It's your call.
I don't think that would be a bad idea at this stage. Does anyone disagree?
I don't.
No, I suppose not.
So how do I find it in the book?
So look, open up the book,
Just open it up.
and then they've got like north. Keep turn the page, and then you've got all
See,
the.
like these have got SE
Mhm.
and the number, so you're
So
looking
you need-
for 34.
So yeah, 38
38
EC.
EC.
So
keep
just keep
going
turning.
until you find EC.
38.
don't
38.
look at the back page.
It's
Fold that over.
not a long one. Okay.
Not good.
He
You really
died.
died, Ben.
Yeah.
Okay. Sir Meeks is in the middle of an autopsy when you arrive in the room. I'm sorry, Wiggins. I only have a bit of time for you. Sir Jasper informs us that the general was killed with a sword thrust through his heart.
Wow.
There's questions
Ah,
on there,
yeah.
sorry, I was just.
This could be important. It was an upward thrust.
Interesting.
So that means they were
So if
close.
he might have been
Oh,
reaching, for,
reaching
the
for the
sword.
sword.
he
Yeah.
fell.
But
Yeah.
then where did the sword play come in?
No. As he was reaching for the sword, the other person
Stabbed him as he was-
there.
Yeah, but then
Oh,
there was sword play.
Well, no, he's still on the chair. He's batting it away, isn't he?
Ah,
Mm.
yes,
Oh.
yep. So, interesting then.
Wait a minute. That means that he was the one on the chair
Yeah.
with the muddy footprint.
Not muddy footprints, it said the footprints.
Okay.
Right.
General killed with an upward thrust with a sword.
So what? So he was standing on the chair when he died.
Weak.
So hang on. So, he was standing on the chair and then he collapsed off the chair
Yeah.
and smashed that, which suggests that nothing actually was stolen from that cabinet.
No.
Maybe it was all a distraction. To
But
make
that's
him,
still
or
the
maybe he
figure
was
that-
just
I
reaching
think it was
for
a
a weapon.
personal thing. I think it was a personal thing.
He was reaching for a weapon to defend himself.
I think he saw Wellington and would have felt shame maybe at what had happened and turned him away.
That's not bad. That's actually very clever.
Maybe it was that. You know.
That's very clever.
Right. Well, that was helpful because we know he was stabbed on the chair,
Mm.
which suggests that while this man was attacking him, it can't have been that sudden an attack that he wasn't able to jump onto the guest's chair and reach for a freaking sword in the time it took this guy to attack him.
So
Do we think the toy thing is just another red?
I'm not sure on the toy thing. I don't
Yeah.
think that there'd be anything there because we've not had anything in his past to suggest toy making. Maybe we should go and speak to his publisher.
I think we should speak to the publisher.
I think that would clear up that potential clue in the
Who's the
like the
problem?
telegram as well.
Oh yeah, because it might tell us what was missing.
Yeah, if I mean, we can at least write that off. But
Publisher Moorgate and Company.
I think we should go there.
Is it going to be in there?
In the back, probably.
so you went to 27 locations last time.
We were very stressed by the end.
How long did it take?
printers?
Good few hours.
No.
They shouldn't take that long. It shouldn't have taken us that long. We
Well,
were almost,
I think
it was
we were
good to
almost,
do that.
we were almost over-analysing the case. to be honest.
That's an amazing advert. So there's an advert, you know, the apps you can get on like
Yeah,
your phone
it's
and you hit
Right
it.
under there,
So-
yeah.
Like teenage boy with teenage girl doing like homework on laptops goes to the thermostat and turns it up sneakily.
Morgan.
Sits back down and she's like, oh, it's hot, it's warm, so she takes off her cardigan, sort of thing. And she's got like, and there's a bing on the dad's phone to see the fact that it's turned away. He's like, really sunny outside. Turn that back down, and then the obviously another shot of the thermostat, and the girl's like,
Sorry, I
It's a
don't
cardigan back on.
I would have gone with the dirtier thing of having her nipples on, but then I'm a pervert. I'm not allowed to make adverts.
This is why you don't make adverts.
That's why you don't work in advertising, Tom.
Did we
Yeah,
get,
people hate erect nipples,
did we
Nipples
get the name
sell.
of his actual publisher?
male or
Person.
female.
No, we didn't get a name.
We haven't got a name for his publisher, have we?
Should be the company. Maybe
Just
they'll be
mortgaging
listed as
company.
There's something in
publishers.
the newspaper.
No, that's
about
why
the
I
The
couldn't-
businesses. Oh.
couldn't
There is
see
something
it.
about it in the newspaper. New books and new editions. Norgate and Company announced
Norgate,
Right.
not
to be published this summer. The new edition.
it's an N, not an M.
Ooh.
You put
Norgate.
Morgate.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mistake.
Norgate with an N.
Oh, it was me. Oh.
I probably pronounced it as
Pronunciation.
I probably pronounced it as Moorgate, Claire. So it's my
Morgate and
mistake.
Company.
So,
41 WC.
You want to go for it?
I'm writing.
Yeah.
48 WC.
41.
41 WC.
I think this is a really good step.
Do you want to know where the location is? Is that relevant?
It
Yeah,
can
right,
be
yeah.
if travel's important, but since we don't have a suspect really yet.
Oh,
Oh, it's a big one.
well, biggish.
I'll say
So
I
his
don't know
name-
picky about
Biggest.
The name.
And
Biggest, your darling.
Clive Dornin.
Clive, what?
Dornin.
What,
D-O-R-N-I-N.
N.
It's not a very Victorian name, is it, Clive?
Why don't we start with that? What do you mean, Victoria?
Norgate and Co. Tells us about General Armstead's revisions of Treasures of the Conquerors. In March, we received a letter from a Pierre Martin from Paris, addressed to the General.
Hello, have we heard this?
We have
Yeah,
heard that.
He's the guy who said, I know who the owner of the Polar Star is.
Yeah.
This fucking book.
We don't remember, look through it.
Isn't that was that Jean-Pierre Martin?
Yeah.
Jean-Pierre Martin.
And that's Martin.
Matin, M-A-T-I-N.
Martin.
M-A, yeah.
T-I-N.
No, he's not listed.
We forwarded it to him. 2 days later, the General came to see us with the news that the author of the letter knew of the whereabouts of a fabulous diamond called the Polar Star that once belonged to Joseph Bonaparte, Napoleon's brother. He believed that the information was genuine because the letter contained a
Put it
detailed
away,
description
the letter.
of how the gem was stolen from its last known owner, Count Rostov, a Russian.
Is Rostov in there?
It also contained details of the time and place of the sale to its present owner, who actually commissioned the theft, an Englishman.
Ah.
An Englishman stole it.
We'll
One
find
didn't
his
see
name.
it,
He'll
he
hear
commissioned it.
Commissioned the steal.
Commissioned the theft, yeah.
So, looking back at those diamond thefts might not be a bad idea.
Tom hates that idea.
Oh, sorry that there might be another component that we can look through.
No, I don't think
Is that something that the game recommends you do, or
It says it can happen.
It
it
can.
can?
The General was very anxious to include the chapter on the diamond in a revised edition of his book. Maybe so that it wouldn't get lost to time.
Yeah,
effectively.
wanted people
Because
to
if he
know.
died,
No,
the news of that goes with him
Yeah.
effectively.
Okay.
What's the name of
Which
this
is
English
it?
guy who commissioned the theft? Mentioned it all.
Rocky Gamer.
The only reason that such a chapter had been omitted from the first edition was for want of that final bit of information. So he didn't know who would do
Oh, okay.
it. For our part, we were very anxious to publish such a revised edition. The original publication caused quite a stir among the public. You see, many of the treasures were in effect reconquered by their present owners by whatever means available, fair or foul. Many of them had secrets to hide. The revelation of those secrets created quite a sensation. The more libel suits that were pressed against us, the more the book sold. Envisioning another such scandal with regards to the Polar Star, we immediately made the announcement in the Times. As soon as we did, letters began pouring in. Some simply rejoicing in the news, some reserving copies, and some, anonymous of course, forecasting doom for the general should the book be re-released. Was there any pattern to those letters? Did they appear to come from any one person? No, although we never saved any to compare them.
Oh,
We
she's
simply
so
burned them
clever.
as they came in.
Oh.
Have you had any contact with Pierre Martin? I knew that he was in town to meet with the general. I have a draft for the £5,000 ready to pay him for the information. When I learned of the general's death, I wired Monsieur Martin that his information is still valuable to us. That's it.
Oh!
Wired him where?
No, what if you wired him? He's not in London, is he? He's in Paris. You don't see
Yeah.
the wire like that short distance.
No, but it says he was in London,
Yeah, he said he was
for,
in
the,
London.
for the thing.
The
They
fuck?
want to get him before he leaves.
So hang on, maybe he's staying in a hotel.
Yes. How many hotels?
I knew that he was in
Wait.
town to meet with the general.
Oh, the thingy hotel.
What?
We mentioned a hotel because the page is back.
I bet he's done with desk.
You read it, Ben. You see if that's relevant.
Bridge House Hotel.
Yeah, Bridge House Hotel.
What's
What about it? What about
That's
it?
where he's staying.
Yeah.
Pierre Martin is it?
Because-
Let's go there.
Oh,
Well, hang on. Sorry, it's Claire's call.
Holy shit!
Go on.
The body of Pierre Martin, suspected international jewel thief, was found early yesterday floating in the Thames.
That's
Hang
the
on,
yeah.
Hang on. Well, how could that be before this?
He was apparently been strangled to death, although Martin, a citizen of France, has been detained by authorities in many countries in connection with various thefts over the years. He has never been convicted of any crimes. He was the thief who stole the gem,
Yeah, but
and he's going to give us the letter of the number of the contact, the name of the contact.
So he's obviously not dead.
The police have no suspects at this time, but reports that the murder must be powerfully built as the physical evidence indicates the victim was strangled with bare hands.
what the heck?
Well, now
That's
we
before.
now
That's March. Right, we've got to go to this
Yeah,
hotel.
we've gotta go.
Well, Claire, it's your call.
Yeah.
Well, hang on.
Bridge
Well,
House.
someone who's
He's
using
dead.
his-
He's not dead. He can't be dead.
It could be someone else posing as
Could
him.
be somebody else
The
posing.
body of
somebody else
Pierre
like
Martin.
He's there.
If he's a good jewel thief, he might
Hang on.
fake his own.
Are
Let's-
there any obituaries?
Well, let's
Yes.
just double check. There's nothing in here about Pierre Martin or about.
Well, can I take the little?
That is
Yeah.
crazy. When you read it, I thought that was from that one. I was like, how did we miss that?
No, that's the one.
Yeah. I didn't realise until I checked the date.
You know that De Vree's diamond company we were talking about this morning, Tom? It's in here.
No way.
Yeah, the De Vree's diamond company.
What was the hotel? Bridge House
Engagement
Hotel?
rings are basically a sham bought on by a diamond company.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Listen to us,
before they
people.
said it.
It seems like something that...
The Bridge House Hotel
Bridge
is
House
in here.
Hotel. 3SE.
It's your call.
Yeah, let's go there.
It's really annoying that we can't go to the coroner. Did you have a body of a Pierre Martin?
The game
coroner?
is afoot.
Big
Can we ask you about Pierre Martin, coroner?
I'm too busy to tell you about
Go
the
to the Bridge
Yeah.
House Hotel.
Lots of time for him.
Hang on.
Oh man!
See how cool the game is.
Oh,
What number is it? We
Just
don't
that
know.
immediate, like, oh my
I
god!
feel like you need a pinboard and lots
Yes.
of post-its or something.
Yeah.
Is it one word? Bridge House.
Bridge, 2 words.
Bridge House Hotel.
No, you couldn't give that as a clue in code name.
And it's 3SE.
Cool. Just before we go there, do you want to write this information down in the news thing?
What information?
That
The
Pierre
fact
Martin
that
was
it's
suspected
dead.
to be dead,
Mm.
suspected to be killed.
Let's
Well,
go
no,
there.
Well, let's
We
see.
only
What-
Let's find out what happens
Okay.
with this.
because there's also a jewellery company and stuff on here as well. that
There
we
is
can-
quite a hubbub in progress
Ooh.
as we enter the Bridge House Hotel. From the murmurings of the crowd in the lobby, we quickly gather that a murder has been committed.
Oh my god!
A murder.
We recognise
Get taggart!
we recognise Constable Shook. Yeah, SHOOK.
I'm writing the word murder first.
At the foot of the main staircase and advance towards him.
Yeah.
Were you carrying on? Yeah.
Yeah.
How in the world did you hear about it? The body was found only 10 minutes ago.
So he was only murdered 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, we explained that we just happened to be at the hotel on another errand to see a Pierre Martin. Why, that's the very fellow what was done in.
Oh. So he's dead.
We ask him to let us pass,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
does. Reluctantly, okay? Second floor, he calls after us. Hey, you! Who said anything about you? Back you, and none of your lip.
Oh dear, you'd like a bit of my lip.
Right round your belly.
We made our way through another crowd gathered on the second floor to talk to the policeman at the doorway of room 226.
226.
Our look holds for Wiggins in acquainted... What? Our look holds...
As Wiggins is acquainted.
Yeah.
For Wiggins is acquainted with the officer and he lets us enter. We arrive in time to overhear a third officer interrogating the desk clerk. He checked into the hotel on the 8th.
Cool.
It's the 11th then.
Does I just say he was French.
Yeah.
This morning, he brought down 2 letters to be posted.
Whoa!
Sorry.
2 letters.
No,
two
no,
letters.
It was French this morning.
hang on. 2 letters.
Yeah.
And posted.
So that
So that wouldn't have been the letter given.
No, one was sent
No,
to the
no.
newspaper and one was sent
He
to...
said
oh no, it was sent
morning-
to the newspaper that was then given to Armstead, wasn't it? So yeah.
He brought down 2 letters to be posted.
To be posted. What have they been posted?
Yes. The proximity of the body is clearly making him nervous. Letters to ooh. It actually says ooh.
Oh God!
I don't know. But he pointed to them and asked where Brick Street and Pont Street were.
Oh my God!
Ooh.
in
Capital
relation to
letters.
the hotel. So Brick, it's like Brick hyphen Street. And
Brick hyphen Street.
Ah, that
Um,
literal...
I've seen that on the map when I was looking at it earlier.
See where they are in relation to Armstead's house?
Brick Street is Armstead's
Yeah.
house.
Oh,
Yeah.
and where's Pont Street then?
who found the body? I did. I came to deliver a wire.
Oh,
The constable
From the
picks up a
newspaper.
telegram lying on the desk. Is this the wire? At the clerk's nod in affirmative. Yeah?
In
Yeah.
the
In the
affirmative.
affirmative. The constable scowls at the message. It says here, information still valuable.
from the newspaper.
Ah.
See me, Clive Dornan. Which,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Norgate and Co. publishers.
Well, actually, he was telling the truth there then.
What information would that be? I have no idea. Did you see anyone suspicious hanging about? Yes, sir. Well, no. I mean, a very large man with a foreign accent. Russian, I think.
Oh, the guy they stole the
Rostov.
diamond from.
Asked for Mr. Martin.
Large Russian.
Several hours ago, I told him he was in and to go right up.
You
Killed him off!
Poor hotel security.
Do
Maybe
you-
this is the
did
guy
you
that
now?
killed the...
Well, yes, sir. He was very well dressed and well mannered, and I didn't think anything of it
well
at the
dressed,
time.
well dressed.
It wasn't long before
And
the man
well-mannered.
came down. He was almost running. I saw him go out the front door and hail a cab.
Cab company, cab company.
A large man, huh? Well, from the looks of it, this one was strangled and with bare hands.
That's exactly what he...
No, that's not Pierre Martin.
No, I know,
That's
but
someone
listen,
who's been
he
strangled.
found someone who was a
exactly
thief,
the same.
killed the
Ross
thief,
was hunting
thinking
him.
him.